I've done a few other one-year reviews recently on the Behringer Crave and the Behringer Neutral, and I thought I'd cover the Moog Mother-32 because it's in a kind of similar ilk. And it's going to be impossible to do this without obviously comparing it at some point to the Crave as well, which I apologise for the Moog purists. I appreciate how irritating that really must be for you. This was touted by Moog as an intuitive and expandable semi-modular synth with a raw analogue sound. It's got powerful sequencing, extensive interconnectivity, with it being the mother of the Mother range, and it's proved to be quite popular as an affordable and original Moog synth for many, with its characteristic Moog VCO and certainly the filters, offering either a traditional saw wave or square or pulse with PWM. For quite some time I was put off the Mother in favour of the Crave for bass duties because I found its front panel to be not as clear a workflow layout as the Crave. But if we look a bit closer, we can divide it into 3 horizontal rows of VCO and VCF, modulation options and modulation sources. And it took me ages to kind of wrap my head around this. But once I started seeing it, it just became so much clearer, although I've always preferred the layout of the Crave. There's just been a kind of continual workflow going across. Obviously along the bottom here we have the incredible 32-step sequencer with its 64 pattern save locations. Also worth noting along the bottom is the Midi in, which on the M-32 not only receives note and clock data, but also CC messages and program change messages, which is something which really sets this apart from the Crave. And there's a screenshot of that info from the manual here. And then of course there's the patch bay, which I'll be covering some points on in my next video, along with a look at the default internal routing and the normalization of the Mother-32. A few of the cons I've found with it after using this for a year, and these aren't really anything too serious. But not having a power button is, it niggles, it sits there often just flashing at me, which is, it's kind of not a huge problem, but it's always nice to be able to turn them off. I appreciate that analog gear likes to warm up, but does it really need to warm up for like 3 months at a time? Updating via MIDI is a huge pain on this. It's a huge pain, not having a USB option. You can't just update it kind of willy-nilly, although there's not that many updates to be had on it. I think they've only done one major update on this with some brilliant sequencer settings. But still, not having USB, it's another niggle. In fact, it's a bit of a pain in the arse, as is adjusting the gate per step via the sequencer using heavy menu diving on a per step basis. The envelopes on it are limited, as are the available consoles, but it's a great sounding synth, and those filters are just fantastic. We just have a The ladder filters on this are really, really cool. If we compare them to the Craves, I think it was Starsky who first pointed out that the Crave sounded like it was almost digital, like it was stepping, which could also just be the effect used from lower priced components. But this is just it's a gorgeous filter. Apparently, I've not come across this, but I kind of read up on a few of the critiques of this, and some of the early models apparently tended to leak the LFO into the pitch CV. But I believe Moog will take these back and repair that as a fault for you. Some of the pros on it are obviously the classic 24 decibel per octave filter, the ladder filter, which naturally self-oscillates kind of above the 3 o'clock position for an additional sine wave, which is pretty cool. And I know it's far from unique, but it's still nice to have the ability nonetheless. The biggest pro remains that it's an obtainable Moog Modular or Semi-Modular Synth. One of the really cool things that I really like on this actually is just the rear 1/4 inch jack can be used for both line level out signals and headphones using some pretty clever circuitry to split that. Yeah, it's a great synth. It really is a great synth. And the prices on these now are, they're so reasonable. You couldn't get all of this into a modular system for this price point. I do recommend them. Bit of a love-hate thing going on with Moog generally, but I do really, really like these. If you haven't already, pick one up. Give it a go. Thanks.